Now after that, just we talked about the virtual kinematics, that is a virtual displacement, although we did not start, but I named that there is a very important concept, virtual displacement and virtual velocities, which we'll use in deriving the equation of motion. So in today's class, we'll discuss the concept of virtual displacement, and then with the help of this virtual displacement, we'll try to derive the equation of motion. Okay. So now 69 have joined. I think it is good enough. So let me start. So we were discussing the virtual kinematics. Let us say virtual displacement V. Is this visible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. So
No, sir, the board is not visible.
board is not visible. Maybe that is due to some network problem.
The upper part not visible.
Or else
So where you are
Okay.
writing is not visible.
okay, good. So I'll just make sure that I do not write at the top part instead of disturbing the camera. So now it is okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Virtual displacement. So before going to virtual displacement, we will consider the concept of virtual velocity. And what is virtual velocity? And what is the difference between virtual velocity and real velocity? Say, when the body moves satisfying certain constraints, so suppose a body is freely movable in space. Okay. So when the body is moving, it will have its own velocity, right? So a real velocity. But in virtual velocity and virtual kinematics, we'll try to explore the possible situations. That is, at that particular moment, it has a velocity vt at certain time instant. Now, this is one possible velocity which has been realized in reality. Okay, the motion is such that at this particular instant, the body has gained the velocity v. But if the forcing and other history of this particle were different, then it would have got another different velocity. It did not be v, but it would have been something v star. Okay, so this is one realization of all possible velocity components. So it could have had any velocity v star. Now the difference between v star and vt is that this is a possible velocity, and this is the real actual velocity, what is actually shown by the particle. This concept is very important. Is this clear? Real velocity and the virtual velocity, but the real velocity and the possible velocity. So this is a possible velocity. Okay. This is a possible velocity. So a velocity, this is the actual one, but this is anything which is possible. So the body could have had another velocity v star. So v star is one possible velocity which will be complying with the constant. Since the body is moving without any constant, so any velocity would have been possible. But out of this all possible velocity, one is actually taking place in reality. So there is a set of velocity, or well, there's a set of velocity which is possible. Out of that particular possible set of velocities, there is only one velocity which is actually really experienced by the body. So this is the difference between the possible velocity and the real velocity. Is this clear?
Yes,
Possible?
Yes, sir.
So then to understand this concept of the possible velocity, which is very simple, the virtual velocity is the difference between the possible velocity and the real velocity. So v star possible velocity minus v. Maybe I'll write down that as
Your voice is not clear, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, voice is not clear. It's
Sometimes it's breaking.
Voice is not clear. So this is maybe because of the network problem. I cannot help. So from it will subside in some time. So V star. Let me repeat again. V star is the is the possible velocity. So the difference between the possible velocity and the actual velocity, this I call the virtual velocity. Okay, this is called the virtual velocity. So since possible velocity is anything possible, so virtual velocity will be also, it can take any value because virtual V star can take any value which is possible. So V virtual can be also taking any value. So virtual velocity is, will define the virtual velocity as the difference between the possible velocity and the actual velocity V. Okay. So let me describe this with the help of an example. Suppose we are considering the pendulum. Okay. So body is actually is constant. So I know that this is capable of moving on a circle. Okay, this circle is not. So at one point, depending upon how you excite the system, there will be one velocity, right? V. It's a real velocity it will have. But this body could have had virtual velocity. So, I mean the possible velocity, this is one possibility, but the in general possible velocity will be anything either here or in this direction, this star. So any velocity would have been possible. Out of this, by chance, this V is the velocity which is realized, but any other velocity could have been possible. So V star is also in the tangential direction, having any value, any arbitrary value V star. Magnitude of V star can be anything because any velocity is possible. V is of course fixed quantity. So the virtual velocity, the magnitude of the virtual velocity. So these two are collinear. So the virtual velocity magnitude will be anything possibility because this V star can take any value. So this difference can have any value, but the direction is always tangential. Either this direction or this direction, the velocity, the direction of the velocity is always tangential to the circle at this particular point. Okay. And it can have any value. So I now understand that the virtual velocity can have any value, but this is actually tangential. The direction magnitude is anything, but the direction is tangential to the circle at that particular point. Okay. So this will be yeah.
So for real velocity, like it depends upon the history of the body, like what
yes, of
forces
course.
applied on it.
Right, exactly. How you, from what point, suppose there is no force, so suppose you lift the body from this particular point. Okay, so at that, if you lift this from this particular point, then it will acquire another some velocity. If you lift this particle from different point at this particular point position, it will acquire different velocity. So that velocity, that depends upon initial condition. But given the initial condition, at one particular time, this is fixed. But the virtual velocity can be anything. Virtual velocity is all possibility. So when the body is moving, definitely its initial condition was unique. Okay, it was started from certain initial condition, and that's why it is moving in a particular way. But if you leave this body with a different initial conditions or a different force, then other velocity would be there. So my concern is what are the possible velocities at this point. That possibility depends upon how you excite the system or do something to the system. So I want to know what are the possible velocities. Okay, all possible velocities which this body is capable of having at this particular point. This possible velocity can be achieved, but you have to actually give a different initial condition or different kind of forcing. This possible velocity can be achieved, but this is not achieved because some special initial condition has been imposed on the system. So that's why out of all possibilities, only one is actually experienced in practice, in reality. So what I am bothered is the possible velocity and the difference between the possible velocity and the real velocity, which is what is called the virtual velocity. So the virtual velocity is a velocity. Here you can see that this can have any magnitude, but the direction is always tangential to this circle at this particular point. Okay. So, so this is one example. Let me take another example. Supposing that the body is moving on a surface. Okay. Body is moving on a fixed surface. So at this particular time instant, suppose it is moving with velocity v. This is a real velocity. But and this real velocity is because it has started its motion from certain point with certain impulse or some force. So that's why it has achieved certain velocity v. But this is one velocity which is experienced, which is realized out of infinite possible set. And what is this infinite possible set? That is any velocity here, any velocity in this direction, but because this is constant, so there would have been any velocity, the possible velocity will be, this is v star, any velocity component or any velocity with magnitude v star in the direction tangent, this is the possible velocity. So now the virtual velocity, let us say v virtual, this is v star minus v. So again they are collinear, so it can have direction only tangent to this particular point, to the curve at this point, and it can have any arbitrary magnitude. So this is almost the same as the case we considered as for simple pendulum. Fine. But suppose at this point you consider that this surface is moving with certain velocity in some direction. Suppose this is the velocity which may be changing with time. So at this particular instant, the velocity, the surface has a velocity Vt, capital Vt. Okay. Now I want to know what will be the direction and the magnitude of the virtual velocity. Okay. So now the particle is at this point. Now what will be the velocity of this point? What will be the total velocity of this point? In which direction it will be? What will be the direction? No, see, it will have, so there will be a relative motion of this particle with respect to the surface, and the surface is going to move also. So this particle is moving relatively, is a relative with respect to the surface, and the surface has kind of absolute motion. So the total velocity v, which will have one component, which is the relative velocity, can be only, relative velocity means that if you fix the surface, do not let it move, then the velocity will be only in the tangential direction v. So it is moving in this direction, suppose, and then it has the capital Vt. So the direction of the velocity will be like this. So this is the v relative. So the v of this particle will be along this direction, because v, you know that v will be equal to v relative plus vt. Let me not v naught t, which just to say that v naught t is the speed of the, or the velocity of the surface. Now, what is the possible velocity? Now this is the actual velocity. V relative is actual. Okay. What is the possible velocity? Now possible velocity, that one in which I can have flexibility in magnitude. This is the v relative. So therefore, v possible, the star, v star, will be here v relative star. So this is what I can change. This can be arbitrary. Okay, relative velocity, I can have any arbitrary component. This is possible relative velocity will be anything, but only is that at this point it must be parallel to the surface, that is tangent to the surface at this point. Okay. Okay, so here we see that the relative velocity can be changed. That means this can actually take any value, but the total velocity will be, the possible velocity is like this. Relative velocity, the actual, and relative velocity, possible relative velocity, V relative star. So that the possible velocity will be V star equal to V relative star plus V naught T. So now you see that V virtual, the difference between them is again same as V relative star minus V relative. From this, you can see that the relative velocity, the virtual velocity, although the particle is actually the surface is moving arbitrarily, but the virtual velocity will be always tangential to the surface at any point. Okay, so direction of the virtual velocity is tangential to the surface at the particular point which we are considering. Okay. Although the real velocity has a different direction. So V relative, for example, V relative star could be like that. So here, this is the V star. These have different direction, different magnitude, the possible velocities, but the virtual velocities can have any magnitude, arbitrary magnitude, but its direction is tangential to the surface. Is this clear? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me take.
Sir, not
Not what? Not clear. Okay. Suppose I have a surface and this body is moving with velocity. So the body is moving with a relative motion. Let us say V relative, and this relative motion can be only the direction is tangential to the surface. It can have some magnitude, V relative, which is of course which comes from how it is excited or how the initial condition was chosen. So it has certain relative velocity. The absolute velocity, and suppose that this is the V naught T. So the absolute velocity Vt will be equal to V naught T plus V relative at that particular time T. Okay, V relative this one. Now the possible velocity, what will be the possible velocity? The possible velocity is that where we can actually change our velocity component. I cannot change the velocity of the surface because the surface has a given constant motion. So it is actually, it's a given motion. So we can change our velocity by changing the V relative. So the possible relative motion can be anything. So V relative star, this is actually possible to change. Anything can be assumed for V relative. So V relative star is the possible relative velocity. So the possible velocity of this particle V star will be equal to V naught T plus V relative star at T. So now the virtual velocity by definition is V star minus V. Okay, which is, since this will cancel out, so therefore this will be V relative star T minus V relative T. So what we know that here the direction, and what is this V relative and V relative star, these two are in the same direction, this is a tangent to the surface. So this is actually, these are collinear vectors. So therefore the direction of this vector is tangential to the surface, and it can have any magnitude because the magnitude of the V relative star is anything, any arbitrary quantity. Okay, positive, negative, any real number it can assume the magnitude. The direction is tangential. Okay, if it is negative, so direction is leftward. If it is positive, the direction is rightward. So in principle, what I can say that the direction of the virtual velocity, although this surface is moving, but the direction of the virtual velocity is always tangent to the surface, and it can have any magnitude. So this is what we explained earlier also. Okay, now virtual displacement, I'll name this as say real displacement delta dr. So this is a real displacement.
Sir, can the shape of the surface also change with time?
Yes, everything can change with time.
Okay.
At that
Still,
time, yeah.
still the formulas and these things will like they will be depending on time only.
So, so at that particular time, I am saying at a time
Yeah.
I am not changing.
Yeah. Okay.
Given time, any point, I consider the surface to be rigid surface, but that could have been deformable. What we need is the velocity of the point of contact.
Yes.
Is the point of contact. So I took the rigid body motion, so every point had the same velocity, but different point could have different velocity also.
No, I am saying the same point means the shape at the same point is changing with time.
Let it change.
Yeah, so still these formulas are and concepts are applicable.
Yes, of course. Changing with, let it change with time. I am considering the velocity. So velocity may change, but at the one particular time, its velocity is given constant velocity v naught. You can say that this is the velocity of the point of contact.
Okay.
And with respect to that, there is a relative motion. Okay. So real displacement drt and the virtual displacement. Now I will define the virtual displacement. So virtual displacement, I will name this as delta r. So this is the virtual displacement delta r, which is the I'll call virtual displacement, and this virtual displacement is any quantity which is proportional to the virtual velocity. This is proportional to virtual velocity. So v virtual, any displacement which is proportional to the virtual velocity will be the virtual displacement. So any constant, let us say alpha or maybe k times virtual, this will be delta r. So what we know from this, our previous discussion also, that the virtual direction of the virtual velocity and the direction of the virtual displacement will be same. The magnitude of the virtual velocity and the magnitude of the virtual displacement can be different. Okay. So actually, if you consider this one, this may be actually this k will have a dimension of time. Maybe you can say that this is let us say some function of time. Maybe I'll consider dt, delta t, as any constant. Okay, this is the delta t is any arbitrary constant. So just I put delta t just to say that this will have dimension of time. Okay, otherwise they will not be dimensionally same. Relative velocity, so this has to be some dimension of time. But this quantity is anything, any quantity delta t, and the virtual velocity. This will have the same dimension of velocity. So this quantity will have dimension of displacement. So I'll call this as a virtual displacement. So the direction of the virtual displacement will be the same as direction of virtual velocity, and the magnitude of the virtual displacement can be anything. Okay. So here is this one, that is concept of virtual velocity and virtual displacement. But how this is actually appearing? Now I'll tell you one principle, which is, suppose a body is moving under different constraints. Okay, different constraints. So when we have a constraint, then there will be the constraint force appearing, right? For example, in the pendulum motion, what was happening? There was a constraint, and because this is actually constraint to move along the circle, so there was a constraint force, and this constraint force T was actually, this is a constraining force. There was another force, this is mg acting, but T force was the force due to constraint. Suppose a particle moves, as I was saying, on a surface. Okay, on a surface, and then this free body diagram of this, it will have a normal reaction. Normal reaction will be perpendicular to the surface. Okay. Normal reaction will be perpendicular to the surface, and there may be other forcing or weight of this one. All these things will be there. Now there is a possibility that there may be frictional force as well, right? frictional force may be also there on the surface. But for the time being, not for the time being, for this entire analysis here, I will not consider the friction force. If the friction force is present in the constant, then we will call these constants as non-ideal constant. Or the ideal constant here, you see that for the ideal constant, in this case, the constant force is acting normal to the surface. Okay, it's ideal constant because this has no friction force. Okay, so there is no dissipation force or there is no friction force in the constant. So if there is no dissipation force, then this constant we will call ideal constant. Okay. So for the ideal constant, I see that the normal force is actually acting perpendicular to the surface. Right? Okay. Now we have this. Now I'll say the principle of virtual work, or the principle of virtual, let's say, well, it is not exactly principle of virtual work, but anyway, principle of, I'll name still this as a principle of virtual work. So principle of virtual work will say that this constant force, I name general this R as the constant force instead of taking T and N. So R I will say that as the constant force. R, constant force for ideal constant. Now for ideal constant, what we'll see that these are, because the constant force is, let's say this dot delta R, this is equal to 0. So the constant force does not do any work. Okay, this is our principle from which we'll derive, not derive, actually we'll state the equation of motion. So you see, this is valid for the pendulum because the virtual work, the virtual displacement was tangential to the point and the constant force was normal to the tangent. So therefore the dot product, so therefore V star here, V relative, V virtual was in this direction and T is in this direction, so therefore they did not do any, it did not do any work. Similarly for the surface, which is deformable, which may be deformable or which may be moving arbitrarily, we'll see that the constant force is in this direction in, and we have seen that the V virtual, this will be tangential to the surface at this particular point. So again, N dot VR, this is 0. Yes.
So I have a doubt, sir. As that statement you wrote, R dot delta R is equals to 0.
Right.
Sir,
this is for the ideal constant. Yes.
Sir, as that particular R is the constant force, and del R is a virtual displacement.
Yes.
So means there is no particular displacement with helping about by taking that particular force.
I'm not getting your point. What? Say it again.
I'm
R is
telling.
the force. At this particular instant, there will be some constant force which will act because there are constants.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. As the constant force is there, so there will be no displacement.
No displacement in which direction? There is a displacement. See, here the displacement is not there in this direction. Right? But displacement is there in the perpendicular direction.
Yes, sir.
Displacement is there. But what I am saying, you are right that I am saying that there is no displacement for the constant force. There is no, not real displacement, but the virtual displacement along the normal direction. There may be real displacement. See, I'll tell you what is the.
Sir, why you have taken virtual displacement perpendicular to the tangent T?
That is because I explained earlier, that is the possible velocity will be in this tangential direction. So virtual velocity will be also in the tangential direction.
Yes,
that's
sir.
the difference between the possible velocity and the real velocity. This is the virtual velocity, and that will be in the tangential direction. And virtual displacement is proportional to virtual velocity. So therefore, this will be also in the tangential direction. Isn't it?
So possible velocity cannot be taken in arbitrary direction.
possible velocity arbitrary direction, but satisfying the constraint. And if you take any possible velocity, there cannot be any velocity in this direction. This is not possible because there is constraint. So the velocity can be anything, but you have to satisfy the constraint. That means it has to be tangential to this circle at this point. It can have any magnitude, but the direction is fixed. Either this or in the opposite direction. The opposite direction is purely possible. The virtual velocity can be also in this direction. V virtual here also in this direction, virtual velocity is possible. In both the cases, you will see that T dot V virtual, this will be equal to 0.
Sir, sir, but we have also to take an assumption for that particular string also, no? That it can't be inextendable, means it can't be expanded.
Constraint. That is why there is a constraint. In Excel, if it is extensible, then there is no constraint.
Okay,
sir. Is a spring there which can extend? Then what is the constraint? There is no constraint.
Okay, sir.
Okay, the constraint is that this is inextensible. That's why it is constrained to move along this path. If it would have been extensible, then it would have actually gone any arbitrary point, isn't it? Arbitrary direction, because the string can extend. This is just as if there is no. On the string, the effect of the string will be to give additional force only. But now, if the string is inextensible, then the string actually constrains the motion of the particle, isn't it?
Okay.
So, in all the cases, you will see that virtual work actually is equal to 0. Now, this was one particular point. Now, if you have, I'll consider another example. Let us say at this point, okay. So, okay. Suppose I'll consider one particular. So this is actually a rod. Okay, it's not a pendulum. It's a simple pendulum, but it's a rod. Okay. Now, what is going to happen to this one? Okay, I'll. Oh. So suppose. So what is the constraint force? What is the constraint?
So along the length of the rod.
Weight of the at centroid.
Not centroid, but at the, where is this constraint? This is the so this is the constant force, right? Because this is not detached; it is always secured at this point. So which is securing that? There is a constant. There is either a screw or any hinge which is constraining the motion. So this is the constant force. Okay. Now here, of course, this constant will not do any work because the virtual displacement here, this point cannot move at all. So therefore, V will be 0. V star possible velocity is also 0. Right, possible velocity is also 0. Okay. Now so therefore V virtual is 0. You see this point here, point O, velocity of point O is 0 always because it cannot move. So then the possible velocity is also 0 because it cannot move at all. So you cannot give any velocity to this point. Then you have to actually take out the constant. Provided you satisfy the constant, V star will be equal to 0. So virtual velocity will be also 0 because there is a difference between V star and V. Okay, so if this virtual velocity is 0, then delta R equal to 0 of this point of application of this force. So you will see that R dot delta R equal to 0 because delta R equal to 0. Okay, the virtual displacement is 0. So in this case also this is satisfied. But now you see why virtual, why not the real velocity? See now, suppose this is actually moving with certain velocity V dot c. The support is actually support is moving with velocity V naught. Okay. So what will be the velocity V of this point O? What will be the velocity of this point? This will be V naught T J. or if I I, so suppose this is x-axis, this is y-axis. So v naught ti is the velocity of this point, okay, because it is moving with v naught t. So there is no relative motion with respect to the surface. So v naught t is the velocity of the point O. V star at this time, because there cannot be any separation of point O with respect to the surface, so therefore this will be also v naught t I, the same velocity. Okay, right? It cannot have any other possible velocity because it cannot move here. If you have to satisfy the constant, it cannot move. So therefore, it can have only possible velocity v naught t. So v virtual, this will be equal to 0 because the difference between them. So delta r will be equal to 0 because this is proportional to Vr, V virtual. So again, you see R dot Vr equal to 0, right? But this R dot, let us say, dr. What is dr? R dot dr. Dr is the real displacement within certain time. Real displacement. The real displacement, what will be that? This will be R dot v naught ti, okay, times delta t or dt within a small time interval dt, right? And this one, you will see that this will be equal to ry v naught t delta t. So the real work done by the real displacement, this is not equal to 0. So this is not equal to 0, but the virtual work is 0. So that is why this importance of virtual work. The virtual work is 0 with the ideal constant, but the real work did not be 0. Is this clear from this example?
Yes, sir.
Is this clear that the virtual work will be 0,
Yes.
but real work not necessarily be 0? So like we'll name this as a virtual work principle, not the work principle. Okay, because the real work need not be 0, but the virtual work can be must be 0. That is that the principle says. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you let me take another example where I'll just. This was 1 degree of freedom system, but let me take another degree of freedom. So this was a 2 degree of freedom system. Okay, 2 degree of freedom system. Yeah.
Yes. Can I ask one thing, that where we use that particular virtual work in the particular practical problem when we are solving that particular vibrational system?
Have patience, please. I will come to that. This is our objective, to use the virtual work principle. Otherwise, it will be wastage of time just to linger upon this virtual work. Okay, I'll come to that point. This is our very objective. Okay, just be patient. I'll come. So this is θ1. This is θ2. So there are 2 degrees of freedom. Now the constant force. What is the constant force? There are 2 constant type force. One is this here, R1, R2. Okay, and there will be another constant because this hinge is there, so there cannot be any separation. So there will be this R3 and R4. Okay, so here just opposite R3 and R4. So this will be the constant forces. There will be other external forces, but these are the constant forces. Okay. Now virtual work, say this is O1 and point O2, let us say, the virtual displacement delta R of O1, this is equal to 0. The virtual displacement of this is equal to 0. Right? But the virtual displacement of delta RO2, this point, this RO2 point, I know earlier I discussed that, and the virtual displacement could be any displacement delta R, this is O2, can be any displacement perpendicular to this line. Perpendicular to this line, that is, this is tangent to the circle drawn with O1 as a center. This is understood. This virtual displacement will be along that line. This is the same as a single pendulum, which I considered earlier. Fine. Now, you see that R3 and R4, they will do they will do the this will do the virtual work. Okay, because R3 and R4 items, well, there will be R3 and R4 definitely will have some component, because these are actually unknown force, so it can have a component along the normal direction and the tangential direction. The tangential direction will do the virtual work.
Sir, what are the R3 and R4? Which reaction forces?
R3 and R4, see, if you draw the free body diagram of this rod 1, O2, then how will it look like? So what will be the free body diagram? What forces you will have to consider?
So from at that point, the force from the other rod.
Right. So because there is a constraint, so there will be a reaction force, right, at the hinge.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this force is what kind of force is? This is a constant force. Why this appears? Because there is a constant, there is a hinge. So there is no separation. The hinge stops the separation. Okay. You have to apply certain force so that the separation is stopped. This is the constant force the hinge has to apply to that particular other rod.
Yes, but there will be only one force, no, on the first rod due to the second rod at that point. Only one force.
Yes, only one force is there, but this can have components around that. So if you are not happy with that, maybe.
Okay, I thought there are two forces.
No, there's a single force, let us say R, and this has different magnitude is unknown, direction is also unknown, so therefore it can be put into two components in the x direction, y direction, which will be equally unknown.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I wrote, the R3 and R4.
Yes.
Right, but R is actually the resultant of this R3 and R4, which is a single force, but I the two components. Just as I have taken the R1 and R2 here, because there's a single force, I have taken only two components. So R1 and R2 is a component. Similarly, R3 and R4 were components. If you do not like it, you can take R, single force. But one thing you see that R dot they are O2, this is not equal to 0. Definitely, we cannot say that this reaction force will be acting always along this direction, along the direction of the rod. Okay. It can have any arbitrary direction, so therefore delta R naught, R O2, and this R will be 0. Is not equal to 0. But if you consider the total reaction force of by the all particles, like all these things, so there will be a virtual work, because this virtual displacement, these 2 points will be delta RO2. The virtual displacement of this point, actually, whether it is on second rod or the first rod, they will have same virtual displacement. Okay, because this is the same point. Okay, so the virtual displacement is here, but the reaction force is opposite. So the virtual work done by this reaction force will be negative of the virtual work done by the other reaction force. So the total virtual work done by these two, R and R, which are equal and opposite, this the sum total will be 0. So earlier case, if I have written this virtual work principle as this one, now I write down this as the constant force dot delta Ri. This is I equal to 1 to n. This is equal to 0. So these are the principle of the virtual work. So instead of taking one single particle, I can take any number of particles over there, or any number of rigid bodies. With the rigid body, there will be some problem because the moment may appear. The virtual couple can, the reaction constant couple can take place or can happen. So for that, there will be some change. But if you consider point masses, then this is the principle of the virtual work. The total virtual work done by all the reaction forces, this will be 0. As I have shown that the virtual work done by individual reaction force may not be 0, but if you consider the total reaction forces, all the reaction forces, then the net virtual work done by all the reaction ideal constant forces will be 0. So this is the principle of virtual work.
Sir, this is also applicable for extended bodies, like.
Yes. Extended body is nothing but a collection of points, right? Only another condition is there that the distance between any 2 points will be remaining same. Isn't it? Extended real body, the rigid body has conditions like that. If it is extended deformable body, then also we can apply this particular one. Okay? Understand? Okay, let me allow 1 minute. I'll just come to you. Okay, so this is definitely true for the extended body. So it's true for all the body, but now if you have extended body, then if the reaction forces are acting at a particular point, then this summation is fine. Otherwise, we'll have to replace this by integral. Anyway, so this is the virtual work. Now, on a particle, suppose it's a point mass here, so there will be the forces are here. If I on the ith particle, there may be many particles there in J, which is there may be internal forces. Another thing, if Fij, all these internal forces and external forces are there. In addition, there will be the constant force, let us say Ri, because of the ideal constant Ri, and then we can write down Ri plus Fi, the net external force plus the net constant force on the particle. This will be equal to MI AI. This is the Newton's law written for ith mass particle. Okay, MI, acceleration of I, equal to the net force. This force can have two parts. One is the external force, and external force or internal force or anything, but another is the force due to constraint. Okay, another is the force due to constraint. Okay, so now from this I can write down.
Sir, is there a difference between the R and small f?
R
and small f?
Yes. Those are internal forces. The particles, for example, they are connected by springs. Suppose there are many particles which are connected by springs and so on, okay, like this. Okay, and this is actually, suppose this point is actually moving along. So this is a pendulum, and this is moving like this. Okay, and there is connection of springs. So if you take the free body diagram of this particle, so there will be this F on 1 particle to 2, and this will be F1 to 3. These are not constant force, but these are the internal forces. Okay, these are internal.
But there is no constant force on this particle.
On this particle, there is no constant force, but on these particles, if you consider the free body diagram of this particle, then there is a particle 2, then there is a constant force T on this particle, and there will be this force F on 1 to 2, and there will be F.
If in a system there is only particles, no spring and other things, then there is no R.
Then there is no R. Then there is no R. But R will appear if you have a constraint. If you consider n particles which is moving freely like a gas in a container, then there is no constraint, right?
Right. Yeah.
But when the gas actually hits the container, the wall of the container, then there is a constraint.
Yeah.
Right? And then the constant force will act at this point.
Yes.
So, but I am considering in general any particle where I can write down Ri equal to MIAI minus Fi. Okay, so this is what we can write down. And then if you substitute there, what you get, I equal to 1 to n, this is MIAI minus Fi dot delta Ri, this is equal to 0. So this is the result of the principle of virtual work for a dynamical system. Okay, MIAI minus Fi dot delta Ri. If it is a static problem, that is no particle is moving. If no particle is moving, then velocities are 0. But the relative, the possible velocity could be anything. Real velocity is 0, but it could have any possible velocity. So it could have any virtual displacement. So in that case, if AI is 0, so the particle is static equilibrium, then this becomes delta Ri equal to 0. That is the principle of virtual work for static problem. Okay, static problem, and that is what this particular principle we have possibly learned in your undergraduate classes, the principle of virtual work. Okay, the work done by the external forces, the virtual work done by the external forces is equal to 0. This is only for the static equilibrium. If it is not in static equilibrium, then the principle of virtual work is like this: AI minus Fi dot the. It ultimately comes from this principle, which is that the virtual work done by the constraint force for the ideal constraint. This is the net virtual work done by all the constraint force. This is equal to 0. So this is what we have. Now, if you allow me to write down in this particular one in AI dot delta Ri, this is equal to Fi dot delta I. So I equal to 1 to n. There are n such particles. Fine. Fi dot delta R. Let me consider the right hand side. Okay. Right hand side, what we'll do now, we'll consider that Ri was the displacement, the virtual displacement of ith point. But we could express the the displacement of any point with the help of generalized coordinates. It need not be expressed only in terms of the real coordinate, but the generalized coordinate. So what I say is that delta Ri will be a function of q1, q2, let us say qn in a generalized coordinate. This is possible because Ri, all the position vectors will be function of the generalized coordinate, n generalized coordinate, where n is definitely less than capital N. Okay, capital N number of particles, but this can be configuration can be expressed with the smaller number of generalized coordinates. So I can write down delta Ri this as delta Ri, just delta Ri, delta Qj, and delta J equal to 1 to n. This is what we can write down. This is just the displacement. If you this is a position, keep the real so as if I have used this as a function for this one, but this is actually valid. Okay, it could have been a function of well, I did not say the function of time, but function of time. Let us say it is implicitly, but not explicitly. So delta Ri equal to delta Ri del Qj delta Qj. This can have any value. Okay, what I say is that delta Qj can have any arbitrary value now. Either here, otherwise, I mean earlier delta Ri, this would have had any value, but the directions is fixed by the constraint. But now, when you write down this one, because Q1, Q2, etc. are already considering the constraints, so therefore delta Qj, all the delta Qj's can have any value between minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so this can have any value. So if I
Could you repeat? Could you explain again?
Delta Qj can take any value. So that is what I said. Here, delta Ri is like this, but delta Qj can take any value. The constraints I did not have to bother because the constraints are already taken care when you write down Q1, Q2, Qn. Okay, because this is the generalized coordinates have already taken care of the constraints. So generalized coordinates can take any value. It's like the the change in the generalized coordinate can be also anything. Constraints are already satisfied when you consider this virtual, consider the generalized coordinates. For example, in the pendulum, theta, delta theta can take any value. Say here, so theta, so virtual displacement delta Ri will be in this direction, and this will be equal to delta Ri will be what? Delta theta, L times delta theta, and E, let us say E theta. This direction is given, this given. So this can take, delta theta can take any value because the magnitude can be arbitrary. Okay. So this is what we say. Just now take it as it is. You can think about it later on. So delta, this becomes, if you just take this one, then you can write down Fi dot delta Ri delta Qj I and j, and this is delta Qj. So this you can write down as J equal to, you can interchange the order of the summation. So this becomes equal to Fi dot delta Ri delta Qj, and this one, this is I equal to 1 to n, and this is delta Qj. So this is how we can write down. Now this expression I'll name as J equal to 1 to n Qj delta Qj. So Fi dot delta Ri delta Qj, this I'll name as general Qj, and this I name as generalized force. This is actually a mathematical expression. So Qj equal to delta Q. Delta Qj is defined in this way: summation Fi dot delta Ri delta Qj summation over all the particles I equal to 1. So this is how the Qj will be defined. Okay. So if you have taken this part, left hand side, I will not derive this. This is actually a standard derivation in any of the book on analytical mechanics or classical mechanics. This left hand side, right hand side, this becomes Qj delta Q, J equal to 1 to n. And left hand side, this becomes, after some manipulation, which I am not going to explain because it will take time, this becomes equal to d dt of del t del Qj dot del Qj dot. What is del Qj dot? This is the derivative of del Qj. So this is Qj dot is the derivative of Qj, the time derivative of Qj. This minus del t del Qj del Qj. This is equal to that. Okay, so that is what I get from the left hand side. But
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not getting this expression where.
You have to. I did not derive this expression here. For that you will have to consult any of the classical mechanics book or analytical mechanics book. Okay. So, but T is the kinetic energy of the particle of the system. This is equal to half mi Ri or Vi dot, that means Ri dot Ri. So this is the kinetic energy of the total system. Okay. And then you see that for this derivation, please check classical mechanics book. Any classical mechanics book will give you this derivation. So what I see that here, if you write it down this way, then this becomes J equal to 1 to small n, and then d dt of del t del Qj dot minus del t del Qj minus Qj delta Qj equal to 0. Now, the very simple thing is that delta Qj take any value, and for any value combination of delta Qj, this is always 0. This summation is 0, and that can only happen if the individual coefficients are separately 0. Otherwise, if one of them is not 0, then this expression will not be 0 for any value of delta Qj. I can always choose kind of delta Qj such that this does not become 0. So the only way the entire expression can become 0 is that this expression, that is d dt of del t del Qj dot minus del t del Qj, this is equal to Qj, and this is to be satisfied. So this is the equation. This equation is known as the Lagrange equation of motion. So this is the equation of motion. I get the equation of motion from this, and that is I'll discuss again in the next class. Now the time is up, so I'll take up from this point and discuss the Lagrange equation and then some of the simplifications of that. But now you are asking about the why I was doing all this virtual displacement and other things. So I use this virtual displacement to to use the virtual work principle, and from the virtual work principle, what I get, I'll get the equation of motion. Now, how many equations of motion are there? There are m such equations of motion. There can be number of particles, but if there are constraints and we can have a smaller number of degrees of freedom of the system, then those many equations we get from here. So these are the equations of motion, and these equations of motion will use to solve the problem. Okay. So this is how we get the equation of motion using the principle of virtual work. Definitely you'll have some problems, some queries and questions there. So I suggest that you think over these problems again, think what I have discussed today, and then next class I will discuss. Okay, I'll take up from this particular point and go forward.
Sir,
yeah.
sir, can you tell in which book these chapters are given so we can understand much better?
These chapters are given in mostly in classical mechanics book. You can read the book by Goldstein, Classical Mechanics by Herbert Goldstein. There's one book, the Classical Mechanics book. Okay. Or any book on analytical mechanics. You may consult the book by Meyerowitz, Leonard Meyerowitz.
Sir, one doubt there, like in that equation.
Yeah, just a second. This is Meyerowitz's book. He has several books, but one book he has written by Analytical Dynamics. There you will get that, but this is actually, if you want to know the exact derivations on all these things, then it is actually more involved. I suggest that don't use too much time on derivation. Just take these equations for granted, because for our class we are going to use those equations. We are not going to play with the equations as such, but we are going to use them for practical.
Okay.
Yeah, doubt about this equation? What is that?
Yes, sir. Sir, like the Lagrange equation also contains the potential energy, like it is T minus V, right?
No, I have not considered potential energy so far. So this I will derive in the next class. Under certain condition, this Qj can be expressed as ddt of del U del Qj dot minus del U del Qj, and in that case you get the Lagrange equations which you normally know, that is T minus U ddt of del T minus U del Qj dot etc. Okay, so on certain condition, this Qj can be expressed when they will have a potential force. Okay, conservative force, then we can express the usual form as Lagrangian is T minus U. Okay, but this is the first form of the Lagrange. Okay, with the kinetic energy expression. This Qj, I did not assume anything of Qj. Right? When I make special assumption for the external forces, Fi as the external forces, so when I make special assumption, then I can simplify this equation further or modify this equation further. Understand?
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So you wrote degree of freedom, number of degree of freedoms are less than number of constraints. Small n is less than
number of particles, not number of constants. I wrote n is less than number of particles.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. Number of particles means the number of, let's say, each particle. I should say 3n. Not okay. Each particle in space can have 3 coordinates. So therefore, if you have a system with n coordinate, so there will be 3n coordinates to represent the system, but they are heavily constrained, so it can be represented or expressed with a very small number of generalized coordinates. Okay. The number of generalized coordinates will be very much smaller compared to the constant. Okay. So that's what I wrote. I wrote n less than n. Maybe it will be better to write down 3n, because each particle will have 3 degrees of freedom if it is unconstant. It's moving in space, so each particle will have x, y, z coordinate. So total number of coordinates of the n particle system will be 3n, but the degree of freedom of the system will be much less compared to the total coordinates of all the particles. Okay, so that is what is our advantage. Okay. Fine.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other doubt? Okay, you think over this problem. Now I think we have exceeded by almost 10 minutes. So let me now stop. Next class we'll meet and discuss about this. Meanwhile, you read.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.